All right, let's classify another surface here. So classify and sketch the surface that's given by this equation, x minus y squared minus 4z squared equals 0. So here I see that I have a term that's not squared. So I want to isolate that term on one side by itself. So I'm going to move everything to the other side. Y squared plus 4z squared. And you can write this as z squared over 1/4. And then look back at your table. Here I have a term that's not squared. And then these terms on the other side that are squared, they're both positive. So if you look through your list, you'll see that this is a elliptic paraboloid. And now what we want to do is we want to sketch this curve. So let's look at our traces again. The xy trace corresponds to z equals 0. So if I plug z equals 0 in, I will get x equals y squared, and that's a parabola. So if I look at the xz trace, that corresponds to y equals 0. So if I plug in y equals 0, you'll get x equals z squared over 1/4, or I could write this as x equals 4z squared. This is also a parabola. And then finally, the yz trace corresponds to x equals 0. If you plug in x equals 0, you'll get y squared plus 4z squared. Well, y squared and z squared, they're not negative. So the only solution to this equation is y equals 0 and z equals 0, but that means you're looking at the origin. So I know this point is on my surface. What if I, instead of looking at the YZ trace, let's take something parallel to it. So let's look parallel to the YZ plane. So for example, let's say I take x equals 4 here and plug it in. You would get 4 equals y squared plus 4z squared. If I divide everything by 4, you will see that you get the equation of an ellipse. So we're going to put all this trace information together into a single picture for my surface. So let's see here. I can sketch this out. So we know our graph goes through the origin. That's the only part on the YZ plane. But parallel to the YZ plane, we get ellipses. And then in the XY and the XY plane, we said it's a parabola. And the XZ plane, it's also a parabola. So going this way, it's a parabola. And then kind of cross-sectionally here, we have ellipses going on. So let's see if I can kind of clean up this picture a little bit to show you what this looks like. You have this kind of bowl here where if I take these cross sections, I get parabolas. Okay, so a bowl facing out in the positive x direction. And remember, the way it faces out is dependent upon, if we look back here, the variable that wasn't squared. So right here, x, it should face out along the x-axis, which it does.